Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today I wanted to do another take of the Windows 10 versus Linux Mint distro wars. There's a couple reasons. Now, I still stand behind some of the tongue-in-cheekness of the previous video, but I do want to give Windows 10 a little bit more of a fair look this time and do a little bit more of the comparative things about it that I didn't necessarily address in the previous video. And understand this, when I did the previous video, I had been trying to get Windows to update properly for 6 hours, and it still was not successful, which is why we're still running on Windows 18.03, I think, which is a little bit older. Now, when I did the original video, I actually addressed that there are some things that have been slightly improved. 1909 does give you the ability to uninstall a few more of the applications. By all means, not all of the what is called bloat. I also understand that yes, you can go into a PowerShell and uninstall a lot of these other tools, but that is outside the scope of a typical computer user. Remember, this channel is not for the computer hobbyist. It's for the person who needs to use their computer to do their work. And that is a significant difference between what I'm doing and what a lot of other channels do. So with those kind of pretexts being said, let's go ahead and jump back over and have a look at Windows 10. Okay, so I did say I wanted to come back in and just have a more objective review, but again, I am just stuck with the insane lunacy of Windows 10. So I just actually wanted to come in and just be a little bit more positive, and I come in and it takes me 5 minutes. I just stop the recording and come back in, because what's happening right now is you can see the disk is spinning at 100%. For what reason? My God. Now, I think what it's doing is it's trying to run and patch install. Like, it's trying to install updates and stuff automatically. All I want to do right now is just kind of show you how the system's going to work, and I don't want it to be doing anything right now. So suppose I'm working on a deadline. I'm just like, I got to get this thing done. Your system on Windows 10 is going to sit here and spin. It's going to sit here and download a bunch of stuff. It's going to slow your network to a crawl. It's going to slow your computer to a crawl while it's like, we're installing updates. Now, again, in your more recent versions, you can have a little bit more control over this, but not a lot. Yeah, you could get the full Windows Professional that a lot of the people that will probably leave negative comments will have and go, oh, you can just go to group policies and change these settings. No, you can't. Not if you're a basic home user. And that's kind of my point. So right now, I don't really want it to be installing things right now because I'm just trying to do a quick video. I want to show you what the system can do on the best. But right now it's sitting here downloading a bunch of stuff. It's installing a bunch of things. You can see we can install updates because other updates are in progress because it's tripping over itself right now. I don't really want it to do all that stuff. But what ends up happening is every single time I turn on Windows 10, the disk sits here and spins at 100% for a long time. Now, there's a lot of things out there saying, let's do a pre-cache, let's get everything running so everything boots faster. You know, I don't want any of that kind of stuff. Adobe has done that stuff. Microsoft Office has done that stuff in the past. And it's always been something I've turned off because I'd rather the computer run quickly and take an extra 10 seconds to load Photoshop when I need Photoshop than every single time I push something, have it open up instantly, because I may not be booting the computer to use Photoshop today, but that seems to be what it's doing. Again, the disk is still spinning at 100% right now, so I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot. This is going to slow the computer down to a crawl. And this computer is configured, I think, with 6 gigs of RAM and 4 processing cores. This thing is busy. It's a busy beaver. For what reason? It's installing updates that I don't really want it to install right now. So if you're working on a big project, it might just sit here and slow everything down to a crawl and make it more difficult for you to do your work. Okay, and again, I'm trying to be positive here, but at the same time, I'm logging in here just to show you how things work, and I can't even properly do that. So that's one of the issues that you are going to find in Windows 10. The other issue is, now we have the live tiles. You can edit and you can adjust the live tiles, but one of the issues that I mentioned here in the in the previous video is I said you really can't customize the start menu. And a lot of people said, oh yeah, you can, just like the old ways. And I will take issue with that. So if we want to do that, so let's just go ahead and say, let's figure out how we customize the start menu here. So let's go Windows 10. Of course, it's going to take a while for this to be ready because of the disk spinning at 100%. So let's go Windows 10 and let's do, I wanted to look at that one there. Let's go ahead and look at the cleanup start menu though first. So it is remembering a few of the history things that I do want to show you here today. Let's see. I think the one that I went to, it was a how-to geek, I thought. Let me just go back up here. So how can you clean start menu apps in Windows 10? So basically reorganizing the start menu. So it basically says, hey, you need to go to this folder here. This is basically the same way you used to be able to do it in Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 95, Windows, whatever. So, but this actually does not work the same way. So we'll boot up your file manager here in Windows, and then we're just going to navigate to this spot. And you can get to this without this script. This just allows us to get there quickly. Okay, so this is actually where our start menu is located. Now, what you'll notice, though, is I was concerned with things like, I don't want to see alarm clock here. I don't want this alphabetical list of applications. And there's actually no way to get rid of them. So you can come in here and things like 7-zip. You can see 7-zip has the 7-zip help file. I'll never use that in my life. So I can come in here. I can delete the 7-zip help file. I could actually come in here and create a new folder. And with a new folder created, I could call this web browsers. And I could take Firefox and Google Chrome, and I could throw these guys up here into web browsers. So it needs administrative privileges. That's nothing new. That was always the case. So now if I come into here, there should be a web browsers with Firefox and Google Chrome. Those icons will update themselves correctly, by the way. It's just something that's there. But what you'll notice is that all these other apps are still here. This is what I'm talking about. I like a clean start menu. I like the ability to come in here and completely say, I want this to be clean and organized. That's one of the things I can't actually do inside this. I can't go in and say, hey, turn off the alphabetical list of things or categorize everything so that, I can take all of my Windows accessories, throw them in one folder called accessories. Inside there, I'll find an alarm clock, I'll find a calculator, I'll find a calendar, I'll find whatever else I need to use. Now, the other fun one here is, let's go back to those services, the searches that I was doing. Let's just go back to here again. And I want to show you just a very comical, Windows 10, how do you remove Cortana from the start menu? I got a kick out of this article here. And let's see. I want to say it was this link here. So if you notice down here, we can go into the start menu and we have Cortana. Now, I don't want to use Cortana. I don't want anything to do with Cortana. I don't want it on the system. I would like to just uninstall it. You can't. You can through PowerShell. Again, you can actually uninstall a lot of these things. So this guy here is asking how to remove Cortana from the start menu. Sure, you can see Cortana is not here on my panel, which is cool. He says, seeking assistance for removing Cortana from the start menu. FYI, this is live tiles. This is start menu. Cortana is not on my live tiles. Cortana is not on my panel. Okay, he says, I tried these methods, setting the registry value set to 0 on allow Cortana to disable it. On the desktop, right-click and hide Cortana. None of these above work to remove Cortana from the start menu. Okay, so have a look at the wonderful answers. You don't need a registry edit, just right-click and uncheck Cortana in the taskbar to remove it. Try to restart your PC. No, that's panel, not start menu. Okay, out of interest, why do you want to remove, what do you hope to accomplish? Cortana is part of the Windows operating system, so you need to, all you'll achieve by removing Cortana from the start menu is one less way to start Cortana. Excuse me, do you have something really hard I can hit my head against? Okay, There's no option for me on the taskbar to uncheck or remove it. That's, again, relating to the taskbar. He says, I'm Peter, an independent advisor. Are you just wanting to hide Cortana from the start menu or disable it completely? It's actually pretty straightforward to disable Cortana. In fact, there are two ways to do I thought his question was very clear, but let's go on. The first option is by launching Cortana from the search bar on the taskbar and then from the left pane, kicking it under Cortana. The first option, the slide pill will slide off position. The second option is by launching the settings panel on privacy, go to speech and inking and typing stop. Let me know, did this solve your problem? This guy, another independent advisor. Hi, JQ. This is very simple. First of all, right-click an empty space on the taskbar. You'll see the pop-up here to take your mouse to Cortana. Now, you'll see the three options. Hidden, show Cortana icon. Again, this is the taskbar. Okay, this is your live tiles. This is your start menu. The question's very clear. Remove this. Get Cortana out of this right here. Okay, so this guy here, again, tried to mention, still in the start menu. Of course, this is pinning to start, unpinning the start. This guy, personally, okay, so this guy comes back in. Personally, I want 0 ways to start Cortana on my PC. I do not want it there at all. It is surplus to requirements, an annoying waste of space. Cortana is completely unnecessary bloatware. Can I disable Cortana in the registry, but it does not remove the crappy piece of blank from my start menu? Why do Microsoft have to make things harder than they need to be? This is my core issue with why I stopped using Windows. I do not want excessive bloat on the system. Brings me kind of the number 2 point. And that number 2 point being that people said, well, you can run debloat scripts. Look at this. My disk is still spinning 100%. Hey, we're down to 97. Sweet. All right. So why do I need to use a third-party tool to debloat the system? That raises itself some weird issues. Now, I haven't even said anything yet to the telemetry, the amount of data that Microsoft collects. Even on the most basic settings, it is still hundreds and hundreds of pages of data that is being collected and sent to Microsoft. Is it personally identifiable? For the most part, no. But I want the ability to say, send nothing of my device to Microsoft, period. Now, let's go back into another one of the pet peeves that I have with the new Windows ecosystem. And this is if we go under our settings and apps. And by the way, there is still this whole separate control panel individually. So you actually have 2 places to uninstall applications. Have a gander at this. So we have a basic control panel that if you're on Windows 7, you'll be used to the control panel. And down here under Programs and Features is where you might remember to uninstall applications. And then we have a separate place to uninstall applications over here. And what you will notice is that there are a whole lot of things here that are not listed over here. Okay, so you go here, you can't really get rid of a lot of the stuff that you may not want to see. But now I come back over here, and here's the various apps. Now, some of these applications I can uninstall. 3D Builder, I am never going to use it. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. 3D Viewer, oh, I can't get rid of that. That's fascinating. 7-zip, of course, I can get rid of that. I can also get rid of it in my basic panel here. App installer, alarm clock. I can't get rid of the alarm clock. I can't get rid of this. Facebook, thank you for giving me the most bloated spyware in the world. Facebook makes Microsoft look good. Feedback Hub, I don't want a Feedback Hub. But what we'll notice as we go through here is that there are applications I cannot install. Like, is this a business environment that you don't care for anything dealing with Xbox? Well, too bad, bucko. Now, there is actually a way to install it. You can use third-party tools, and third-party tools will actually give you a little bit more in granular control. But once again, why do we need to use third-party tools in order to clean out bloatware applications that the system puts on its system that I don't want to have to begin with? So CCleaner, and if we download the free version of CCleaner, this is going to be an application that will give us the ability to uninstall a lot of the extra bloatware. Now, remember that some Windows applications will actually bring bloatware with it. I am told that CCleaner will bring Google Chrome with it if you don't have it installed, and I think that that's kind of problematic. If you download it from other third-party places, then it might come with extra things like extra things like toolbars, stuff like that. That's actually something that you just got to be very careful not to install accessory applications inside of a Windows installer program. Just be aware of that. In this case here, downloading this directly from here, it's still scanning. What are you doing? All right. Clear, clear, clear. Is it? See, now the system is not being slow because I'm in a VirtualBox. The system is being slow because it keeps on trying to download stuff in the background. So this is one of the concerns that I'm going to have with Windows is it's going to actually get in your way if you're trying to get something done by installing and downloading and pulling up network stuff on your system when you don't really want it to. Go under our customize. I don't want it on the desktop. I don't want it in the recycling bin. I don't want to enable intelligent cookie scan. I really don't want CCleaner to do anything. By default, it is going to install its auto clean checking option. I'm going to turn that off. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you that you do need a third-party tool, and that the third-party tool is going to allow you to even uninstall things like the Xbox that I don't want. But guess what? It can't get rid of Cortana, which is another application I do not want. Go ahead and run CCleaner now. No, I don't want your crappy website. I didn't ask for your crappy website. I just wanted to run CCleaner. No, I'm not interested in your health check either. We're going to come over to our tools and uninstall, and it is populating a list. So now if we pull up our, we're not going to pull up the control panel settings again, but we are just going to go ahead and pull up the app settings from here. So finding our apps. So if you remember, we had the Microsoft stuff down here, the Xbox stuff that I will not have. I can actually come down here now in CCleaner and I can actually uninstall some of this crap that I do not want. Now that raises another question. Why do I need a third-party application to remove bloatware off my computer? But you will notice that there are some other things on here like Cortana that I do not have the option anywhere here to uninstall. But at least CCleaner will allow me to clean up a lot of the bloat that I know for sure I don't need. Like there's Skype, there's the Paint 3D, you know, some of these tools up here that I know I won't be using. Let's go ahead and get rid of these. Now this is going to be, mobile plans. Yes, I really don't need mobile plans, Microsoft. Yeah, this computer that doesn't even have a wireless card in it. Sure. Okay, so this is how you're going to unbloat it. You can even remove from CCleaner if you want to remove the Microsoft Store. You can do that. It's over here somewhere. Where'd it go? It's Microsoft Pay. Yeah, I won't be using that. Microsoft Store. So if you're not even interested in using the store, you actually can get rid of the store now inside of CCleaner. So that's good news. But if, again, from Microsoft, you really can't. Oh, no. Like, give me the please disable. I don't even want to push OK, thanks. All right. So that is, I mean, in a nutshell, these are the little things that drive me crazy about Windows. Maybe little things, maybe not. Ultimately, for me, it was the security. The security is really good. The privacy, really bad. I don't want my computer sending any information out. I don't want it to try and install updates automatically. Hey, notify me? Sure, have at it. Because that will allow me to say, okay, we're done with a big project. So, for example, when I'm writing, I don't run any updates in the middle of writing a book. When I'm done with my books, I transfer the files over, make sure everything's backed up, and then I process all the updates for that particular computer. And then I go back. Well, that's the way I want to do that. Of course, if there's some major security thing, I will push that single update. Now, why might you keep using Windows? Moving on into Windows 10. Well, if you are a gamer, Windows 10 is still going to be the best option you have for gaming. Okay. You also, though, have more options inside of Windows for some of the productivity applications. Now, in my case, I'm perfectly happy doing all my production on Linux. in my jobs where I am my own boss, I can choose to say I'm using GIMP or I'm using Inkscape or I'm using LibreOffice. And frankly, those applications are every bit as good as the paid versions from Adobe or from Microsoft. They're very good. Now, if you do not know them yet, you're going to have a learning curve to figure them out. But yes, they are every bit as good. If you're in an enterprise environment where you have to have a certain application or you have to have a certain protocol, for example, I have a cousin who is a financial advisor. The software that their corporation uses has to run on Windows 10. They don't have another option. So there are places and tools and circumstances and situations that you're going to need to keep using Windows. Now, would I recommend using Windows as a personal user, home user, in the event that you don't need to run specialty applications and you do not need to run, run games? No. Linux is far better for those situations. So with that, let's go ahead and dive on into Linux Mint. I'm going to show you another option. Hopefully this was a little bit more fair and balanced, but still a lot of the gripes are coming into me, and it's probably going to take me about 20 minutes to shut this down. So we're going to shut off the video and we'll jump back on when we're on Linux Mint, and I'll show you what that can do. Okay, so here we are on Linux Mint. Now, if you're leaving behind Windows and checking out Linux Mint, what circumstances would I go? Well, obviously, number one, if you are a home user that does not play video games, in other words, you're checking email, you're checking the internet, you're on social media, you're just doing some basic things, maybe write the occasional document here and there, stuff like that, I would highly recommend you switch to Linux instead of Windows. You have a lot more granular control. First and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about the minor issues first. Let's pull up the system monitor because that's what we were fighting with the last time. So of course we don't have the disk spin and things like this, but you can actually kind of see it's really not all that active. You know, some of our CPUs are spiking up a little bit as we're moving things. It looks like it's hovering at around 20% or so, a little bit higher than the native basal amount of Windows, but it actually doesn't feel as sluggish either. Looking at our RAM, we're only using 800 megabytes. I think Windows, I didn't check the RAM number, but usually it hovers around 1.2 to 1.5 gig. So we're definitely a lot more efficient on our basic memory. Now, we do have more granular control in what the thing looks like. I'm using here a nice custom blue theme that I created here. There's a lot of different theming options available. As far as controlling the way my menu looks, hey, doing my menu is actually very easy. You can actually just come in here, configure your menu, and coming over here, in fact, this is the picture on the menu. I mean, you can even change something like that. Hey, let's use a heart. Why not? You know, I mean, so you can go ahead and pick what you might want with those. You can come over to the menu, and right in here, you can literally adjust the menu. Literally, just you don't want to see certain options. Hey, just go ahead and click this guy off, and it'll disappear from the menu. We'll go ahead and keep that on. I installed Opera there, just give it a brief little test. But, you know, you can see I have web browsers installed here. In fact, I have a variety of them. It looks like I have 2 web browsers on here right now. I have Thunderbird Mail. I also use Evolution for mail. You can do all your web mail. You can access your social media accounts, anything that you might need to do. Now, Linux Mint here has a nice updater. So you can see this little shield down here with a little blue icon. This is actually just telling me, hey, there's some updates available. It's not going to sit there and force you to download them. It's not going to force it upon you, but it does indicate to you that yes, there is an update to be had. So you can go ahead and click the install updates when you're ready. You don't have to do them. Now there's also, it's not showing up here, but if there's something critical, you will get a little exclamation point here to check. We don't have anything critical right now, and so that's not really a big deal. As far as installing applications, yes, Linux does generally come with what you might consider a software store, or in this case, a software manager. This is a very, very safe place to install things. So things that you will find inside of this list are all they're all actually going to be curated and double checked. You're not grabbing stuff from random CD places on the internet. You're actually grabbing things from from repositories that the programmers and the developers have looked at. Now, can you install other things from the web? Absolutely, you can. .deb packages will work on this particular version of Linux, and there are some other ones out there as well. Now, I did talk quite a bit about the data collection inside of Windows. That is, for me, the biggest reason why I switch over to Linux. Specifically, Linux Mint has a very strong policy against any such data collection. They do not collect any data at all. In fact, they are very much against it, and so that's definitely a factor in mine. So here, of course, I have writing applications. So LibreOffice, I'm a professional writer, and this is every bit as powerful as Windows, as Microsoft Office is. It's going to have similar compatibilities. There are some people who will argue, well, it just doesn't work as compatible for like 0.01% of documents that has some weird formatting that is correct. Most incompatibility issues are simply because Windows and Linux do not carry the same fonts. Simply install Windows fonts on Linux and you actually solve most of that problem. And I've tested this on a lot of different things. There's some other things where sometimes Office does not like running .odt files, which is what LibreOffice saves in by default, but you can save those as docx files. I also mentioned that I personally use GIMP. GIMP is every bit as good as Photoshop. Some people will say, no, it doesn't. It sucks. No, it really doesn't. I am proficient in both Photoshop and in GIMP. And I actually, after I took the time to learn to use GIMP, I actually like GIMP more than Photoshop these days. That's not just because it's open source software. It's that I feel like it does have a little bit more logical and rational output of how things work than Photoshop does at times. It's also not as big of a memory hog, and it can do anything that I needed to do. And understand, I don't just create a little tinkery things on the side. I actually write books and produce the book covers in GIMP, push them out to global distribution networks, all on GIMP. I do my thumbnails on GIMP. I do, all that kind of stuff. So if your task is just doing internet things, basic home office things, catching up with the grandkids or the kids, doing social media, Linux is going to be probably a better choice. Now, if you're going from Windows 7 over to Windows 10, there's already going to be a learning curve. Consider testing out Linux. I do have a Linux playlist that will get you started if you're starting with Windows, moving over to Linux. Definitely give it a try out. You may not stick with it. Hey, that's okay. There's no huge rush to leave right now just because Windows 7 has reached end of life. It does not mean it's immediately dead and insecure right this second today. It just means that, hey, you need to start shifting what you're going to do. Are you going to jump to Windows 8? Are you going to jump to Windows 10? Or is now the time to check out Linux? Yes, there's applications that Windows is going to be a little bit better at. We've already mentioned games. We've already mentioned specialty applications for work and production environments. In my case, I'm my own boss, so I said, hey, our offices now use Linux. Why not? And frankly, I'm more productive under Linux than I ever was under Windows. So keep that in mind. Hopefully this was a little bit more of a balanced view. So you could kind of see that yeah, I actually do know how to run Windows. It's just starting to frustrate me more and more these days, and then I can't even boot it up to look at it for a client without the thing spinning at 100% and wasting 20 minutes of my time while it's sitting there and download packages I said, please don't download. Those are the little things. I want to have more granular control over my systems, and Linux has allowed me the opportunity to do that. Those are my thoughts on why I am switched everything over to Linux. Those are my ideas. If you fit those categories where basic internet use, basic document use, you're not heavy on games, you don't have proprietary software you need to run, definitely I encourage you at least have a look at Linux. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it absolutely is worth the switch and to try it out on. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.